Alright, here we are. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight I have a very special thing prepared for all of you today. Today I will be showcasing over 10 years of game collecting here on my PC. This has been a great journey for me, which is going to continue endlessly, probably, and happily. But tonight, before I get to the next forgotten gem that we are going to analyze here on the channel, I wanted to go over my personal collection, mainly due to 3 reasons that I've been commenting throughout the months of my streams. First of all, I created my Twitch channel in order to expand people's horizons regarding video games. It's absolutely sad listening to people say that Fortnite is the best game of all time, and that, for example, games as service are the best and viral games are the best. Of course, relativists will always tell us that we should play whatever we want to play. You should let people play whatever they want to play. Yes, people can play whatever they want or whatever they feel they should be playing, but that's not the case. The case is that's a fallacy. Remember, I support philosophical realism, not relativism, and due to that, I wanted to showcase a different vision for players. One in which the analysis for video games is philosophically realist. It's a philosophically realist approach to game analysis. That's my, let's say, my argument, my ideals. Those are my ideals, sorry. And due to that, today I'll bring you something very special. I'll show you that objectively there are thousands and thousands of games you could be playing right now. Because this new generation of players, sadly, will not even recognize a lot of the games I'm going to showcase right now. So that's the first reason. To help expand with my small channel, and from my small channel, and with my absolutely tiny contribution here from ARG to the rest of the world, to contribute regarding not the education of players, but the information, being informed. So we don't have a new generation of players who are going to say that Fortnite was the best game of all time, or some other thing, that GTA Online is the best game of all time just because a lot of streamers and people played them. No. Here I'm going to showcase years upon years of history of video games. And this is not even the full picture, as I will explain soon enough. This is just the intro for now. Second reason. Just in case the worst happens, just in case the worst possible scenario happens, and I lose my hard drives, I lose all of my hard drives, because hard drives tend to fail, tend to stop working after some certain amount of time. Here I will leave, this is kind of like, a recording of the glory of my achievement, let's say. I consider this a personal achievement among the several ones I've managed to do in life, be them a lot or just a few. Among being a lawyer, being an English professor, and currently trying to be a programmer, this collection is a personal achievement. So I wanted to record this just in case one or all of the hard drives eventually fail. Let's hope that never happens. I have the main hard drive for my PC is from 2008, I believe, or 2012. We are currently in 2022, so it's been exactly 10 years. And that hard drive, kind of like a brain, which has been transplanted from one PC to another. Yes, indeed, that hard drive has survived 3, let's say, surgeries. Yes, it has been transported. It has been transported over from my first PC to my second PC and now to my third PC. Indeed. And the power cable I'm using, you wouldn't guess the year. It's just a power cable. The power cable is from the first PC my family ever had back in 1998. Indeed, the power cable is still working. It was from a Compaq PC. The brand was Compaq. And yes, the power cable is still the same. As for the rest, here I have something I'm going to show to all of you soon enough. This will be a long video. It may take me 3 hours, 4 hours. It doesn't matter. This will be a glorious night. And this leads me to the third reason, and the main reason, to inspire especially newer generations of players. I know veterans know about all of these. They will probably get to know a lot of the games. I hope not all of them. I want to surprise at least some of you who are veterans with some titles from this list with my collection. But for the newer generations of players, I wanted to showcase how much one can achieve regarding the knowledge of the gaming industry, the different subgenres, the different and endless possibilities you could experience if you for 1 second stop playing Fortnite, stop playing Among Us, and all of those viral games. Because as I said, I support a philosophically realist approach to video game analysis, to the gaming industry, to game recommendations, to everything in life, in fact. And a philosophically realist approach is being able to objectively measure the quality of a game. It's not a mere matter of opinion. That's a fallacy. That's the most common trap of relativism. And we are currently living in the middle of a totally relativist society. So here you will see games which have an immense amount of quality. They are extremely valuable, but not regarding the price, regarding the complexity of the gameplay system, the extension of the environment, the complexity of that environment. For example, I always use as example the water temple in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Compare the complexity of the level design, the soundtrack, the gameplay system in that game back in the day to Fortnite, which is an empty scenario with people trying to kill each other, right? Or Among Us, or whatever. You get the point. So, forgive me, veterans, but if you know a lot about video games, if you are absolute legends, absolute pros, maybe you will recognize most of the games I'm going to showcase, but maybe I can bring you some fresh ideas. but especially to the newer generations, always remember, you should never stop learning regarding video games, regarding whatever career you may want to take. If you want to be, I don't know, a lawyer like me or whatever, my message, my personal recommendation, never stop learning. And in this case, since my channel revolves around video games and game analysis, we are going to learn about video games. Or at least I'm going to not learn, we are going to share, I am going to share my personal experience with all of you. Right? That's part of being a human being. Sharing your experience. And that's not something like some people say that, no, you are teaching, you're a dictator, you're an oppressor. No. I'm sharing my experience regarding video games. Because we have this new wave of neo-Marxists with a lot of social Marxism attacking philosophical realism. Right? And since I support philosophical realism and not relativism, like all of that people do, I'm going to share. This is the best way of learning, both you and me. Sharing. In this case, I'm the one sharing. And I'm going to share my full collection of PC games. It has taken me over 10 years of learning, over 10 years of experiencing new genres, subgenres, etc. Keep in mind that besides this one, because you may think this guy is absolutely, he knows, he has a large collection of PC games, but he has never experienced any other console. That's not true. This is my Nintendo 3DS. It can emulate, it's modded, so it can emulate games from the Nintendo DS, from the GBA, from the Game Boy Color. Here I have the PS Vita. This is an absolutely sad story. Because that console has a lot of potential, and it was sadly abandoned. Maybe one day I can showcase for all of you my collection. But imagine something like what you're looking at right now, something similar like this with all of these games. Well, something similar, but with my PS Vita and my 3DS. They're all modded. I think it's absolutely necessary to kind of like break the chains of manufacturer limitations and truly awaken the true potential of the consoles. The same for my Xbox 360. It can emulate a big portion of the original Xbox games, of the original Xbox library. The only game I've never been able to get around to play is Midtown Madness 3, because I played Midtown Madness 2 on PC a lot back in 1998 with that original PC I had. And I also have a PS3. You'll see that I have always found a way to play a console's library, but I wanted to play it with the best resolution, with the best graphical performance. So you'll see that this isn't updated at all. Outdated, sorry, at all. It's all updated with modern graphics, perfectly fine. We're not going to play games because otherwise it would take me, I don't know, thousands of years to showcase each one of all of these games that you are going to see right now. So we are just going to explain, and it will be me talking about the genre, the subgenre, and all of that. And hopefully in 3 hours, 4 hours, we are going to cover this, and I will have my recording for future generations so they can see the glory of my collection and how proud I am of it, and how incredible it is that I could gather the knowledge, because the most difficult part of this was learning about a lot of obscure games which were difficult to find. in the end. That was the biggest difficulty, the biggest issue. Getting to learn all of the different subgenres. It's a long process, a long and hard process, but it's much better than just playing Fortnite and being ignorant about this beautiful world of video games and just playing one game. Alright. Some people will say, I don't have the time. No, I also don't have the time. Look, I also do a lot of things. I have my jobs. I have a lot of things that I do, but I always find some hours every day, at least every week. Some days one cannot do that, to explore this great collection. Alright, we begin then. We are going to begin, and we are going to begin by... I'm going to begin with the... as we should all do with our collections. We should always remember the first game we ever played. Just in case you are interested, besides I am an only child, and well, I was born in an upper class family, let's say, in a destitute country such as ARG, but in an upper class family. That's the truth of the matter. Not politicians. Proudly not politicians. Good. After that comment, I will begin with my first game of all time, the one which revealed, the one which was my first contact with video games, the one I'm most proud of, certainly, the one I played, and I still play, with my parents. This is like a trip to when we were kids. This is my first game. It's called Scars. It's from Ubisoft. It's a Mario Kart clone. We need to be honest, even though I love this game. I believe you can see the... Yes, you can see the names for the games every time I put the cursor on them. We'll begin with this one. This is the first game I ever played, and here you weren't expecting this. This is the CD. This is the original CD. Here you can see it. This is the original CD. I have the original CD, of course. The one in my PC isn't this one, of course. This one is the version for Windows 98. There you can see it. There you can see it. And I'm so proud of this game. So proud. Here it says Ubisoft Entertainment 1999, because of course it says, well, it says Argentine industry, of course, because back in the day we had imports available. Now we no longer have imports. Everything is digital. And it says Ubisoft Entertainment, licensed to Universal Games, etc. Well, I still have my first game ever. Absolutely original. There it is. Alright, second of all, there you have it. It's a Mario Kart clone. It's absolutely incredible. What can I tell you about that game? That game is the best game of all time, personally, but not objectively. Not objectively. It's not correct to say that. I have a personal attachment to this game. Of course, Mario Kart is better technically regarding gameplay and regarding everything, but this game has a special place in my heart due to my personal attachment, not because of its quality, because while it's not a bad game, it's not a bad game objectively. Maybe the circuits are a bit, let's say, they are pretty narrow in some cases. You are basically tells you the story of the future, in which the supercomputers. We are ruled by supercomputers. They are bored, and basically they entertain themselves, yes, the artificial intelligences, by doing simulations of animals, which are cars. They end up being cars with different stats, with pretty different stats, and racing with a lot of weapons, and it's a very, very cool game. Don't think that because I have a personal attachment to this game, the game is bad because I said it was a Mario Kart clone. Of course, it doesn't have the quality of Mario Kart. Or, for example, Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed, or Crash Team Racing, or Crash Nitro Fueled, I think it was. Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. The one on the Xbox and PS2 and PSP. I think that was the name. But it's a very good game. That one is not the PC port, but rather the N64 port, which is not as good graphically, but I am able to play it at the highest resolution, as if it was a modern game. Well, like that. With a controller, besides, because back in 1998, I played this game, the disc version, with with the keyboard, with the IBM keyboard, could it be? The classic IBM keyboard? Yep. So yeah, highly recommended. Try that one out. Remember me for that game. And yes, a pretty good Mario Kart clone. It's much more difficult because the circuits are narrow, as I've said. It has some super challenges. If you're looking for a harder version of Mario Kart, and let's say with more adult graphics, even though I don't care about that, I am a diagnosed Nintendo fan, so I cannot criticize that, as you can imagine, or I would never do so. The game is pretty interesting. Second of all, we are going to talk about the interface before we begin right here with Baldur's Gate. We are going to begin with the interface I've chosen, because when you talk to people about PC game collections, they imagine Steam's user interface and all of that, but here I wanted to recreate the original experience I had back in the pre-Steam era, back in 1998, back in the early 2000s, back in, let's say, 2005, 2003. In those years, we didn't have the Steam. And besides, I don't like the Steam interface and all of that, because you have to first launch Steam, then browse, and get your game. And sometimes I've seen a lot of PC collections in which, since there's a limited amount of rows, per column, you have to continuously, kind of like with the mouse wheel, scroll down until you get the game. Some people use alphabetical order in order to do so. No, here I wanted to have a custom order, and above all, I wanted to do this. Select the game, like this, and simply launch it without any kind of external interfaces. I had that idea vividly clear. I wanted to grab a game and play, just like a console, because most console players, when you argue with them, they'll say, yeah, PC is great, but sometimes I just want to sit back, relax, and launch the game without any kind of interference, any kind of launching any app. And nowadays we not only have the Steam app, we have the other one, the Epic Games launcher, the I don't know, the GOG platform. We had from Blizzard the Battle.net launcher. Now is property of Microsoft as of 2022. And well, I didn't want to get through those authentication methods. I wanted to get the immediate experience, turning on the PC and launching the game, just as I do with the 3DS, which is extremely fast, just as I do with the PS Vita, because I don't have that much time. Maybe I can play for 2 hours nowadays, and then I have to go back to work. Since I work at home, I have to close everything, and get to work. So I have to go teach my students. I have to teach English to my students, all of that. So I wanted to have this like fast, blazing fast. And here it is, blazing fast. I turn on the PC. This automatically launches just as you see it. During the streams, you don't see the wallpaper engine, the moving background, here in this case with Darth Nylas, because I have to turn that off when I'm streaming, but then I turn that on. And it's immediate, and it's an absolutely fast process. It's absolutely immediate. I don't have to wait. So great. Here, as you can see, it has some little custom effect. And one last thing before we begin. You are going to notice the artwork for the games isn't the original one. Yes, I manually replaced, throughout the course of these 10 years of collecting, I have replaced the original artwork for a lot of the executables, with this custom artwork I had to sometimes even do on my own, not like do it on my own, kind of like grabbing an image from the internet and modifying it, I modded the icon, the pictures for the icons, and then I used this program to dock them there. Right. It was a very long process. Sometimes I had to edit some icons because it's not that easy, because the resolution for an icon has to be... It doesn't have to mandatorily, let's say, be... It's not an obligation. It's not mandatory, but otherwise the proportions won't be exact. But it needs to be 256, 512, like that. Or at least the height and the length, they need to be exact. The width and the height, they need to be exact. For example, 1,000 horizontal pixels and then 1,000 vertical pixels, right? They need to be the same. So I had to specifically look for those images, which first of all I liked, and second of all they had those proportions. And sometimes I had to edit them, and then I had to transform them to .ico format. Okay. Last thing. I know I said the last thing was the previous one. All of the games you see here that are over 1,200 games, all of them are playable on the highest resolution possible. Yes, I've personally modded one by one each game throughout the years, throughout 10 years. Don't think I did this in one weekend. No. They all play on the highest resolution possible, even resorting to mods. I even had to resort to mods in a lot of cases. especially in the case of older games. If it was a case of an older game which didn't play at a high resolution, I had to mod it. I had to hex edit the executable in some cases just to achieve 1440p, as you can see here. And, well, when I can, 144 refresh rate. Okay. Of course, sometimes the games are hard coded, and that's impossible. It's mostly the case for Japanese games, to be honest. But, for example, I remember Nox right here. This one I think it's hard coded at 30 FPS, and this one is one of the few cases in which I couldn't change the old resolution. I think it's 1270. I don't know. No, maybe, yeah, more or less 1360 pixels, something like that. I don't know. By 768 or something like that. Something along those lines. I don't remember precisely. But well, they are all modded in the case it's needed to upgrade the resolution. Don't think that I just installed the game and never opened it. No. I played each one of them at least to the point in which I could verify the HD resolution. 1080p, 1440p, and in the case of these particular cases I'm going to comment on, which I simply couldn't because the game is hard-coded. Well, I know which ones of those games are, and I think they are less than 5 or 10, if I'm not mistaken. We'll see. Well, let's begin once and for all after this long 30-minute intro. And we begin with the classic RPG genre. You'll see that everything is divided into subgenres. Each line, as you can see here, is divided into subgenres. And we begin with the father, the true father of all classic RPG games, Baldur's Gate. I know, a lot of people will tell me there were classic RPG games before Baldur's Gate. Yes. But Baldur's Gate was the father of the modern formula of classic RPG games. This one was released in 1998, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. This is the enhanced edition, which was recently released. I finished this game on the highest difficulty, which is Throne of Ball or something like that. No, that's the expansion for the second game. No, Legacy of Ball is the exact word. The god of the Baldur's Gate universe, the assassin god. It's absolutely imperative. It should be obligatory playing Baldur's Gate, especially before playing Divinity Original Sin. Absolutely needed. This game is the father of all modern classic RPG mechanics. This game featured the classic Infinity Engine for its graphics. It's a 2D game. The enhanced edition is great. Play it on the highest difficulty if you want a challenge and experience true role-playing mechanics. This game is the true father of all of the RPG genre, and I'm not exaggerating. This game is the one responsible for the popularity of role-playing games nowadays in the West. Because there were a lot of Eastern Japanese RPG games which were extremely different. And I'm always sad to see that nowadays the turn-based combat of Divinity Original Sin has substituted the real-time with pause combat, the legendary real-time with pause combat from Baldur's Gate. So definitely check out this game. And it's best played on PC, to be honest. Let's all be honest about it. This game plays marvelous on PC. You can also play it on Android, on those things. But the best way to play this game is on PC. It's hard-coded at 30 FPS, I believe, but ignore it. The game is great. Get the enhanced edition, it's great. Baldur's Gate 2. I always say this about Baldur's Gate 2. I liked Baldur's Gate 1 much more than 2, because Baldur's Gate 2 is an unfinished product. It was an unfinished product back in the day. It needed the Throne of Bhaal expansion. See that I'm not reading anything, it's just my memory. The Throne of Bhaal expansion to kind of like come full circle and give the game a proper ending and a proper cohesive storyline in the end. But I like Baldur's Gate 1 much more, the father of all classic RPG games. This section is the classic RPG games subgenre. Good. Baldur's Gate 2 expands upon those mechanics, but with the enhanced edition of Baldur's Gate 1, you will at least be prepared for Baldur's Gate 2, because the expansion they added recently, the Siege of Dragonspear, besides being epic, it will introduce a lot of creatures. For example, the Lich, I remember, the Beholder, which were originally creatures only seen in Baldur's Gate 2. If my memory serves me right, I'm not using Google, feel free to use Google and tell me I'm absolutely wrong, but I think my memory is serving me right. And the expansion they released recently, modernly, for Baldur's Gate 1, it showcased some of the mechanics for Baldur's Gate 2. A lot of the enemies, which were previously unknown in this game, and they were exclusive to Baldur's Gate 2. One thing I forgot, just in case you are wondering why when I hover my mouse over the icons, they get bigger. Well, I thought about that because if I eventually, I will, grow older and I have a 10 out of 10 sight. I have a 10 out of 10 sight in this side. In this one I have 9. In this one I have 9 out of 10. But just in case eventually, and my family has always had genetically, let's say, good sight. But just in case I eventually grow older and for some reason, I don't know, a random reason, eventually I lose a bit of vision, I'll be able to look at the icon like this because it's bigger. But if I do this, for example here, it would be, even for me right now, pretty difficult to tell which game is the one I'm picking. But with this, I'm trying to be cautious, and just in case I lose my vision, I'll be able to, or at least not totally, but a bit, I'll be able to look at the icon. Pretty interesting. I think that's something most people don't consider. Icewind Dale, what could I say to all of you about this game? Also developed on the legendary, or with the legendary Infinity Engine, all of these games, the enhanced edition. I heard that they originally lost, the team at Beamdog, they lost the source code for Icewind Dale 2, which I would instantly get, absolutely instantly, They had lost the original source code. I tried running Icewind Dale 2, the original executable, it didn't work. Don't try to do it, it's absolutely broken. Unless you have a PC from 1998 or the early 2000s, forget about it. I couldn't do so, at least. I don't know. Some people use BJ Voodoo, but I don't like using virtual machines because I think they recently recovered the source code though. I think they recovered the source code, so we may hopefully see Icewind Dale 2 Enhanced Edition soon. Neverwinter Nights. Neverwinter Nights. This is the first. Sorry, I'm running out of breath. I'll bring some water. Sorry. But we have a long night and I've got a lot of comments to do. I want this to be as detailed as possible. I know that the folks over at YouTube will say, what's this guy doing? He's not editing his stream. Well, no, I don't edit my streams. What are you gonna do? I like raw gameplay and raw experiences. I think it's better. It's terribly hypocrite editing your stream. Alright. Neverwinter Nights. The first 3D game based upon the classic Dungeons and Dragons mechanics. I could never play this one. I'll have to confess that. I would love to do so, but it's extremely long. It has a lot of expansions. Recently it got a lot of new expansions. It has also, kind of like Mario Maker, it has a lot of community made levels, just like Mario Maker 1 and 2. Well, it's the same case. Neverwinter Nights 2, highly recommended, both of them, though I was unable to play them. Lionheart Legacy of the Crusader. This is a game from my childhood. This game, you know, I need to explain this. This game was developed by an American studio, Black Isle, which was also responsible for Baldur's Gate. This is from California. I think they are from. Sorry if I didn't get those facts correctly, but I think they are from California. But this game is based 100% upon Spanish culture. You know, let's say my OG language, my native language is Spanish, right? Even though I'm half Italian. And all of the culture in this game, though it was originally released in the US, and it was clearly for the American audience, because it's exactly like Baldur's Gate, maybe with some changes, but it's pretty much the same idea. It's based upon Spanish culture, Spanish architecture. It has a Spanish music, everything. It's based upon Spanish culture, and it's absolutely interesting that a studio from California could translate Spanish culture so perfectly to an American-made game, because the music, everything, it's perfectly executed. Now, I know most of you role-playing veterans are thinking right now. You're lacking one. You are lacking Planescape Torment here. I don't like Planescape Torment. I know, a sacrilege, what are you gonna do? One can't be perfect. What are you gonna do? I don't like Planescape Torment. Please don't kill me. Please try not to kill me. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that it has no combat. That you can solve. Well, you can solve all of the situations through diplomacy, through conversation, even the final boss. It has the enhanced edition, but I don't like it because the crisis, I think they are called, the combat situations, they don't have deep gameplay mechanics. Clearly that game was not focused, it was not developed around combat. if you know what I mean. So no, you won't see Planescape Torment here. Sorry, please try not to kill me, Planescape Torment fans. There's also, you won't find also Torment Tides of Numenera, I think, or yes, did I? No. Torment Tides of Numenera, which is kind of like the sequel, but if you like them, go check them out, because a lot of people don't know about Torment Tides of Numenera, which is kind of like part 2. The Temple of Elemental Evil, classic, absolutely classic, also another classic RPG. I was unable to play this one. They are 2D, I believe. Lionheart is 2D, and this one I think it's 2D as well, also called not Dungeon Siege. This one, of course, all of the enhanced editions here, I could run them at 1440p and locked resolutions because they are enhanced editions. Lionheart, I think there was a problem because the resolution would scale. I modded it, but the resolution, this one is modded in this case, and it's not the original resolution, which was 800 by 600, I believe. No, it's a bit enhanced, and it's I think this one it's 1600 by 1200. I could run Lionheart Legacy of the Crusader at 1440p, but the characters and everything, the world map would be so tiny that I had to at least find kind of like the middle ground between HD resolution and the aspect ratio regarding the interface and everything. The best resolution to play this one is 1600 by 1200 because of several specific reasons. It's hard-coded. I think this one is modded, so do that. You have to mod this one in order to play it. But it's the last, kind of like the last big game developed by Black Isle Studios, also responsible for the rest of the classic RPG games, such as the classic RPG games developed under the Infinity Engine, or with the Infinity Engine. And it's good. It's kind of like this one song. It's not there's no enhanced edition, so there's that. Temple of Elemental Evil, I think this one is a similar case to Lionheart. It's not 1440p, it's not modded, but I remember the resolution was pretty high. I think it was 1080p. 1080p or something along those lines. If it wasn't 1080p, it was 1600 by 1200, the same case as Lionheart, though it was from a different company. Heretic Kingdoms, the Inquisition, also known as Cult Heretic Kingdoms, I think Heretic Kingdoms, the Inquisition is the European name, which is the original in this specific case because the game was developed by Slovakian studio Games Farm, which I recently analyzed. Shadows Awakening, which is kind of like the definitive sequel and version to that one. Yes, I know this one is from 2003, could it be? 2003, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 2003. You'll also notice that more or less my games are kind of like grouped by year of release, but also if they belong to the same company, I kind of like group them. For example, I think this one, Neverwinter Nights 2, is from 2007, but it's here in 1998 because, well, it's the same developer. Alright, Heretic Kingdoms, the Inquisition, called Heretic Kingdoms, pretty good. This is more not 100% action RPG, because here I have the sub-genre, which is Isometric Action RPG with the first Diablo. No, it's not 100% like Diablo. It still uses the real-time with pause system, but this one has kind of like point and click, right? This one is point and click, classic action RPG. For example, Baldur's Gate, no. In Baldur's Gate, you choose the spell and you target the enemy. While the game is paused or something like that. Here, instead, you point and click, but it's not like Diablo. It's kind of like turn-based. Kind of like the situation of Knights of the Old Republic. My favorite game of all time. Out of all of these. It's similar to that. Because it's turn-based, but real-time. But this one has point and click. Baldur's Gate doesn't have that point and click system, which is similar to Diablo. Remember that by the time this one released for the classic RPG genre, Diablo 1 and 2 have already released, right? So here you are going to begin to see, here you will begin to see a constant pattern. The CRPG genre, the classic RPG genre, was affected by the isometric action RPG genre. And it reduced the lore for most games, it reduced the conversations, and it focused on the action. I think it was a somehow positive change, because as I've said, I don't like Landscape Torment. Please try not to kill me, but I think it was a positive influence the first Diablo had on those games. Alright, Dungeon Siege. What could I say about Dungeon Siege? I played this game twice. I never got to play the expansion. I have that pending. The Legends of Arana expansion. A pretty epic game. You cannot imagine it. Play this game right now. You have to mod this game. Yes, this one is modded. It plays at 1440p. I think it's 60 FPS. It's locked at 60 FPS, but it's at an unlocked resolution, and it looks gorgeous. It has a pretty interesting lore, a legendary soundtrack, and it was developed by Chris Taylor, one of the best developers of the gaming industry. For me personally, I would say Chris Taylor is top 5 developers of the gaming industry. Absolutely everything that Gas Power Games developed was legendary, but before Gas Power Games was created, this was, for me, this was the best game Chris Taylor ever developed. And this is important. This is important, remembering all of the developers behind all of these great games. I cannot remember all of them. I would need to be either Batman or Superman, but I am not. I will need to have infinite memory. I don't. While I have good memory, I cannot remember all of the developers. So sorry regarding that, but I will always at least try to remember as most names as I can. The biggest amount of names as I can. Dungeon Siege 2 Broken World. I need to play this one. This game is absolutely legendary. I played this one, but not all the way up until the end, because it's very long. It has the expansion, which is Broken World. That's why I changed the name there. To remind myself that I have to play the expansion, indeed. and the rest of the game, because I made it. I was a little kid. I couldn't play it completely to 100% completion. Silverfall. Well, Silverfall was also released on the PSP. The PSP version is pretty solid, but of course it doesn't look as good as the PC version. I think those were the only two systems on which this game was released. Yes, PC and the PSP and the PlayStation Portable. Good port, I remember, but this one has the expansion as well. It has more content and, well, better graphics. And yes, they all of these three, Dungeon Siege 2 and Silverfall, Dungeon Siege, both of them with mods. I also have to use borderless gaming because I think it's 1440p windowed, and then I use borderless gaming to kind of like do it full screen because I don't like windowed or borderless. But well, I had to kind of like use an external program to run this one at 1440p full screen. Silverfall, I think it has native support, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. There are a lot of games, please understand, I cannot remember specifically each one of them. I would have to Google. But generally, I remember these two, yes, you need to mod the executables. And they are at 60 FPS locked. Silverfall is also 60 FPS, but it's native, the resolution. It has unlocked resolutions, native support. Pretty good game. It's a still classic RPG. It's not like Diablo, but it has that influence of point and click gameplay. But I think it's still a real-time turn-based with pause. No, it doesn't have pause. It's real-time, but kind of like turn-based real-time. It's difficult to explain. You have your chat kind of like saying attack, that thing, successful, the attack failed, or the attack failed, and those things. I believe it was like this. Or otherwise it's more like Diablo, but it's still not point and click system. Of that I'm sure, because otherwise it wouldn't be here. Drakensang the Dark Eye, this one has native support, as well as its sequel. These are German classic RPG games. They are based upon a German tabletop game, pretty similar to Dungeons and Dragons, if I remember correctly. They are from 2008. This is from 2007, 2006, 2007. This one is from 2003. 2003 or a bit less, maybe. 2008 is Drakensang 1, The Dark Eye. Pretty difficult to find. You have to go to European storefronts to get them. They are German. They are playable in English. They have a lot of German references to their culture, exactly like Lionheart Legacy of the Crusader had references to my Spanish culture. These ones are pretty good classic RPG games. I couldn't finish them. They're pretty long. But I played them a bit. They have gorgeous graphics for 2008. These ones are all 3D rendered from Dungeon Siege onwards. I think they're all 3D rendered, of course, except for Pillars of Eternity and Tyranny, which are modern examples. But yes, I highly suggest you try these two, just in case you played Baldur's Gate and you like them. Thank me later, because they are pretty good. Don't expect Baldur's Gate, because Baldur's Gate is God. Baldur's Gate is the best classic RPG game ever created, so no, don't expect that, but trust me, this game has a lot of quality, this one as well. And after these two, sadly the same company went on to develop an MMORPG instead of releasing Drakensang 3. A similar situation to what happened with Torchlight 1 and 2. But fortunately they ended up creating Torchlight 3. Thankfully. Alright, it's already been an hour and we just begun. This is pretty miserable. But well, German classic RPG games, pretty good. Pretty good. They have gorgeous graphics. I have to use Borderless Gaming as well, the Borderless Gaming external program. They can run at unlocked resolutions. I think they have unlocked frame rate, otherwise it's 60 FPS, but I think it's unlocked. They have unlocked frame rates. Gorgeous graphics. I think this one was published by Iron Lore, the same one that published Titan Quest originally, published Titan Quest before THQ reacquired all of the rights and all of that, and they began re-releasing expansions. Highly recommended these two. Drakensand 1, The Dark Eye, and The River of Time. Confrontation. Alright, Confrontation is from an indie studio from 2013, could it be? Yeah, from 2013. Yes, from 2013, I think. And it's the prequel to this one, to Arclash Legacy, which is the one I truly recommend, because Confrontation is kind of like the first experience, the first product, much more unpolished than Arclash Legacy. But yes, they are classic RPG games. None of these use turn-based combat. I don't have a single turn-based game in my PC. I don't like them, or any of my consoles. The only one, it's Divinity Original Sin, and there's one more that we are going to get to right now. But they are kind of like four out of 1200. Arclash Legacy, recommended. Maybe it doesn't have the quality of old school classic RPG games, but it's pretty good. If you like, first, I suggest this. First, get Arclash Legacy in case you like classic RPG games. And if you like Arclash Legacy, if you say, well, this indie developer had an original idea, it's pretty good. It's modern, so this one plays at unlocked resolution, I believe, and unlocked frame rates. Otherwise, it's 60. That's the rule of thumb. But I think it's pretty modern, and it has unlocked resolutions. You don't need to mod them because they are not old games. And if you like Arclash Legacy, get to Confrontation because it was made by the same studio, by the same indie studio. They are pretty talented. You'll get to know the studio once you Google Arclash Legacy, but I remember this was a pretty good game. The same could be said for Ember. I can't say much about this one because I couldn't play it that much, but it's a similar case to Arclash Legacy. In a time in which the classic RPG genre, this was a period of time in which the classic RPG genre was on the brink of extinction, let's say, because modernly it has had a resurgence. These games were this one is from 2014. It's pretty much similar to Arclash Legacy, to the case of Arclash Legacy, not to the gameplay. And in the studio, with a solid gameplay system, otherwise it wouldn't be here, with your party, following the style of Baldur's Gate. But know that I remember back in the day, this one had a lot of quality. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here, because as you can see, I don't have a lot of indie games. You'll see that I don't have a lot of them. They're mostly AAA or AA. I mostly focus on AA games. Pillars of Eternity, what could I say about this? Legendary, the resurgence of the classic RPG genre, 2015. This true successor, the true heir of Baldur's Gate. Not Divinity Original Sin, but this game, Pillars of Eternity 1. And 2, legendary games. What are you doing with your life? Get them right now. Nothing to comment about those. They're absolutely legendary. Tyranny from 2017, could it be? 2017? Yes. Tyranny. Pretty similar to these two. I couldn't play it, but this one kind of like you get to play as the bad guy. Pretty interesting. Of course, these are all better played on PC. Sorry to say this, but I cannot picture myself playing these games with a controller. No. But I assume Tyranny, more or less, I watched the gameplays, I remember, back in 2017. It has a similar style to Pillars of Eternity 2 and 1. They are made by Obsidian Entertainment, legendary company. All of their games are good. They've been recently purchased by Microsoft. I hope Abode, which is the game they are currently working on, turns out to be a great game. Great company, which released legendary games. Besides, they are responsible for my favorite game of all time, which is Knights of the Old Republic 2. As you can see, I have Nylas back there, so as a moving wallpaper. So Sword Coast Legends. Most people forget about this game. They say that it's mediocre. They don't like it. It has gorgeous graphics. It has the classic RPG combat system, real time with pause. I don't see why people hate it. Honestly, I think it's a good game. It's true that the combat is not in depth. It's not that much in depth. Let's say don't expect Baldur's Gate, but it's a modern alternative, just in case you are a veteran of the genre. Highly suggested. Just don't expect complex gameplay mechanics, complex combat. Don't expect that, but it's pretty good. It's licensed by, I think it's licensed by Wizards of the Coast, and the Dungeons and Dragons official license. So you will have more or less the heritage of the Dungeons and Dragons universe and all of the lore. So there's nothing to worry about. I suggest you get it. Just don't expect something like Pillars of Eternity. Champions of Antaria. This game was developed by Ubisoft. I remember very vividly. I vividly remember. This is from 2016, so probably... Yes, because here I placed Tyranny here, or Tyranny here. But it's actually from this one, which is earlier. Alright, yes. Tyranny, it was released after Champions of Antaria, but I'm sure of it. But Pillars of Eternity was kind of like the same as Pillars of Eternity. This is what I commented, that if the game was developed by the same company and it's literally the same as the first entry, I grouped them together. 2016, Champions of Antaria, developed by Ubisoft. Most people forget about this game. This game is great. This game is great, people. Try this game instead of playing Fortnite. Well, I don't think that if you're watching my channel you are playing Fortnite at all, so I don't want to insult you, but this game is great. Gorgeous graphics, a bit cartoony. I don't know if that's a problem for any of you. It's not a problem for me, as long as the gameplay system isn't an empty battlefield so that 100 people can kill each other. It's a bit cartoony. It has good gameplay mechanics. As I've said, mostly these modern examples of the classic RPG genre, they are not these exponents of these modern exponents, or these modern examples of the classic RPG genre don't have the complexity of Baldur's Gate. They don't have the complexity of Pillars of Eternity. But Champions of Antaria is a good game. Don't think that you're going to that I'm recommending a subpar, a shitty game just because I like the genre. No, it's not the case. The game has pretty graphics, as I've said, and it's classic RPG. Real time with pause. If I'm not mistaken, it's real time with pause combat. Research, but it's perfectly fine. I don't know why people forget about Champions of Antaria and Sword Coast Legends. 2015, 2016. The Dwarves. We are getting into abandonware territory, let's say. I don't want to say this because the developers are clearly extremely talented. This one was closely released alongside Champions of Antaria, almost the same year and almost the same date. I remember some months of difference. Pretty good. Here you play as the dwarves, following the classic RPG lore from the Dungeons and Dragons universe, but this game is pretty cool. It has classic RPG mechanics, real time with post combat. These are all a bit more point and click, but they are all perfectly fine. Don't let anyone tell you that they are shit games because they've been abandoned or anything like that. No, these are all great games. Let's say from 0 to 10, they are all above 7. They are all above 7 clearly. We are the dwarves. This one has nothing to do with the dwarves. I know. I grouped them together, but no. But I grouped them together because this one was released also on that year or the next one. Pretty closely. We are the dwarves. Indeed, we are the dwarves. Nothing to do with the previous one. Also a great classic RPG game. They don't use the, as well as Champions of Antaria, they don't use 100% the Dungeons and Dragons universe, but also a great classic RPG game. I have been unable to play these two, but they are excellent. I've watched gameplays, and they are different. They have nothing to do with each other, but they are pretty good. Dungeons and Dragons Tales from Candlekeep Tomb of Annihilation. I'll be honest with this one. I've played it. It's turn-based. This is the first turn-based classic RPG, and probably one of the few you will see here, because I hate turn-based combat. But here in this case, I made an exception because this one has the official Dungeons and Dragons license. Pretty much, I need to be honest. I don't like turn-based games, but this one has the classic Dungeons and Dragons license, so I couldn't help it. I couldn't help myself, and I said, well, it has the classic Dungeons and Dragons license. I need to try this one. Tower of Time. Pretty forgotten, though this game is excellent. It has a unique time manipulation mechanic. I couldn't finish this one. A unique time manipulation mechanic. It's like nothing you'll ever see in any other classic RPG game. We have to be honest. The combat system is unique, absolutely unique, and it's real time with pause, but with a lot of specific time manipulating mechanics. It's not turn-based. The only turn-based games here are this one. This one is very shallow. I don't recommend getting this one because it's very shallow, unless you absolutely love the Dungeons and Dragons universe. And I don't know, in my case, I live in a culture in which we don't have the tabletop game, but we've never had it. So my way of discovering this great game has been throughout the years through these video games. That's the reality of the situation, and why I bought them, even though I may not like the combat system 100%. That's the thing. But Tower of Time, it has real time with post combat with unique mechanics. Warhammer 40k Mechanicus, the second turn-based game. I love Warhammer as well as Dungeons and Dragons. Well, let's say it's also because of the official license. You won't see XCOM here, but these two, well, they have the licenses, so. And it will be the only. There are thousands of, or at least dozens, let's say to be exact. Let's not make a hyperbole. Dozens of turn-based Warhammer games. For PC, you have dozens of PC games, with turn-based PC games which use the Warhammer universe. Well, we've arrived at the modern conflict we are experiencing right now regarding the classic RPG genre. Just like I said with Pillars of Eternity 1, the new heir, the new inheritor, let's say, the new heir, to speak correctly, of the classic RPG genre is Pathfinder Kingmaker, developed by Owlcat Games. Precisely right now, it's a bit conflicting saying this, but yes, they are from Russia. Owlcat Games, if I'm not mistaken, they are from Russia, and they based their game upon another classic game, another tabletop game, which is Pathfinder, pretty similar to the Dungeons and Dragons universe, and it's the same case as Drakensang. It's the same case. This one is German, and this one, well, the studio is Russian, Owlcat Games, but if I'm not mistaken, the Pathfinder game, the tabletop game, is American. If I'm not mistaken, well, this is the true heir of Baldur's Gate's legacy. The legacy. This game is the one that will succeed Baldur's Gate, which has succeeded Baldur's Gate in modern times. And Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous is their most recent entry. And here we have a game that I finished. I played it all the way to the finish. But I've criticized Larian Studios endlessly because of what they did. Because this one was released previously to Pathfinder, even though you see it here. This is the enhanced edition. Now, none of these require mods or anything like that. These are all modern games. They have unlocked resolutions. Maybe they have 60 FPS caps, but not a resolution cap. Divinity Original Sin 1. I finished this game. The game is good, but I cannot forgive Larian Studios for prostituting the legacy of Baldur's Gate. I need to be honest. They pissed on the real-time with post-combat system. Sorry for being so blunt about this, but it's a topic which gets me extremely angry. I don't want to get to once again explain this. I have a video on my channel explaining the sacrilege they done. Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, they are great games, but this is not Baldur's Gate. This is the beta for Baldur's Gate 3, but they are not Baldur's Gate 3. Now, this is Divinity Original Sin 3. That's a reality of the situation. This is related to what I've been commenting on relativism. I support philosophical realism, and the reality, the objective reality, is that these three games developed by Larian, they have turn-based combat, and the legacy of Baldur's Gate is real-time with post-combat. And whoever says another thing is because they either weren't alive by the time Baldur's Gate 1 released, I was, or they simply don't care. They simply don't care. They discovered the classic RPG genre through Divinity Original Sin. That's usually the case, sadly. And they think Divinity Original Sin is the father of RPG games. No, those are all fallacies. These three are great games, but they have turn-based combat, and they are not the heirs of Baldur's Gate. The true heir of Baldur's Gate is Pathfinder Kingmaker and Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. The combat system is exactly like a classic 2.5 Dungeons and Dragons game, with real-time with post-combat, and those who argue that no, well, but the tabletop game is turn-based, real Dungeons and Dragons is turn-based. Yeah, perfect. But this is not a tabletop game. These are video games. It's a different thing. The inherent nature of these games is that they are video games, not tabletop games. They are inherently, in their essence, their inner essence, they're video games, not tabletop games. That's related to philosophy, so a lot of people usually don't pay attention to that. But if you're looking something like Baldur's Gate, go for this one and not for this one. Go for these three. If you come, these three, they kind of like cater to a modern audience of the tabletop game, which comes from the 5.0, the fifth edition of Dungeons and Dragons, which was relatively recently released. And with that 5th edition, there's a new generation, also with Critical Role and all of those Twitch streams which do Dungeons and Dragons. They play Dungeons and Dragons, the tabletop game. And with the 5th edition, Baldur's Gate was 2.5 if I'm not mistaken. Or 3.5, one of those. I think it was 2.5. I'm not an expert, but more or less that's the idea. I think it was 2.5. And those people, that fan base, the core audience of Larian Studios games, I've investigated this a lot. They come from a totally different background than those of us who come from Baldur's Gate 3, from Baldur's Gate 1. And when they released Baldur's Gate 3, this is actually Divinity Original Sin 3. I need to be honest, I'm not a hypocrite. This is Divinity Original Sin 3. And these games are created with that person, with that fan base in mind. The people who come from the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons that was modernly released, not the OG Baldur's Gate fans, right? That's why a lot of people, among them me, we complain about the fact that Baldur's Gate 3, they are using the license and they are not respecting its legacy. Because Wizards of the Coast, they told Larian, well, you first have to prove yourselves because before we give you the Baldur's Gate license, because Wizards of the Coast, they have the Baldur's Gate, they have the Baldur's Gate license right now. And they said, first develop something, a franchise. Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2 were developed, they were released, and then Wizards of the Coast fulfilled its sacrilege, and they fulfilled their promise to Larian, and they gave them the license for developing Baldur's Gate 3. This is an absolute sacrilege. They should all drop the development right now and give it to Pathfind, to Old Cat Games, responsible for Pathfinder Kingmaker, or to Obsidian. I think Wizards of the Coast should have given the license to Obsidian, above all. To Obsidian. Because Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2 are truly the games which capture the essence of Baldur's Gate, not Divinity Original Sin. Divinity Original Sin captures the essence of Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. And all of that comes from someone who was born in a country in which Dungeons and Dragons isn't popular. Most people don't even know what it is. Over here. Moving on, but I had to explain this because it's the modern situation of the classic RPG subgenre. Iron Danger, classic RPG. I think it's real time with pause. It has a pretty interesting mechanic similar to Tower of Time, not the same. They have unique mechanics. You kind of like manipulate time to some extent. The Dark Eye Book of Heroes, well, look at that. Does this remind you of something? Indeed. Drakensang 1 The Dark Eye. Yes, this one it's an updated, nothing to do with the original development team from Germany. This is a modern incarnation of the German tabletop game, The Dark Eye Book of Heroes. It's been released on Steam. unlocked resolution, as I've said. Pretty much if you liked Drakensang, I assume you will like this because it's the same. The rules must have updated from 2008. This one was recently released. The Dungeon of Nahelbeuk, the Amulet of Chaos. Sorry if I butchered that name. You knew you were using a name which was impossible to pronounce, but the game is excellent. This game is also classic RPG, as I've been saying, and I haven't been able to play it. I first want to finish some of the classics, Temple of Elemental Evil, which is turn-based, I believe. I believe Temple of Elemental Evil is turn-based. This one, like, without using Google or anything like that, this one, Dungeons and Dragons Tales from Candlekeep. Also, I like that of Candlekeep because it's the original city of Baldur's Gate. That's also another reason why I got this game. The city in which you are born in Baldur's Gate. Warhammer Mechanicus, and then, well, Divinity Original Sin. As I've said, they are great games, but they have prostituted the legacy of the Baldur's Gate franchise. Solasta Crown of the Magister, well, this one surprised me. I haven't been able to play it a lot, just the first levels. I don't plan on finishing it right now because I'm waiting for the updates and the expansions. It's a legendary game. I highly suggest that if you want classic RPGs with modern graphics, you try these three, especially the Dark Eye, the Dungeon of Nahelbeuk, the Amulet of Chaos, and especially Solasta Crown of the Magister. And the Waylanders is the most modern example. Not much to comment on these. They're still new to me. Consider that I have a lot of games to play. But they are here. I wanted to bring you modern examples that could inspire you and show to all of you that the classic RPG genre has somehow revived, and indie studios are expanding upon the original gameplay mechanics created by Baldur's Gate. They mostly follow the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons. So if you don't want huge learning curves, for example, these games have terribly steep learning curves, and you want modern graphics for whatever reason, you can try these 4. They are great. They are AA. I wouldn't call them indie 100%. They have nice graphics, and of course, above all of them, if you want a modern example, Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous and Pathfinder Kingmaker. Moving on, see that I have a separator there. We begin with the isometric action RPG genre, which a lot of people, they have constantly confused this genre with the Dark Souls games, calling them action RPG. No, these are isometric action RPG games. Dark Souls games are modern RPG games. They are third person. They don't use the isometric camera. They are just like Skyrim with different gameplay mechanics, of course. But this is the isometric action RPG genre. Not Dark Souls. Not games with stamina bars and third person cameras. No, this is the isometric action RPG genre. The camera needs to be isometric, kind of like on the character, kind of like looking at them from the sky. And the game that began it all, Diablo 1, I highly suggest you use the Belzebub mod. Sorry if I couldn't pronounce that properly. The Belzebub mod, or Belzebub mod, which will allow you to play this game at unlocked resolutions. Of course, I finished this game several times. I am currently struggling through hellish difficulty, the hell difficulty. I made it through normal and nightmare difficulties. I had a lot of issues with nightmare. Then I began another save file with a mage instead of a warrior. Big mistake. It also added using the warrior. Another thing. I think the mod not only unlocks the resolution, but it also adds classes. The icon is custom made by, not by me, but kind of like I edited the official artwork, the same for Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, and a lot of those, for example, Dungeons and Dragons. I mostly use the covers. Well, the cover for this one was a disaster to create kind of like those runes at the edges of the image. This is Diablo 2. What could I tell you about these games? These games should always be played, regardless of the year in which you listen to this. Diablo 1 and 2, they changed the RPG genre forever, but absolutely forever, because they introduced action, 100% action gameplay, and not real-time with post-combat based upon the Dungeons and Dragons rules. Because even though it's real-time with Baldur's Gate, it internally, each turn takes 6 seconds, if I'm not mistaken, in Baldur's Gate. And Diablo 1 and 2, they reduced that time to 0. They reduced it to 0, but it's not that in Baldur's Gate it's turn-based, the combat, no. It's real-time with pause, but the turns, let's say, they take 6 seconds. 6 seconds, it's a turn. That's the difference, the key and technical difference. I hate it when people think that Baldur's Gate it's a turn-based game. 100%, no. It has real-time with post-combat. It's true that internally it has some turn-based elements, but from the moment it takes 6 seconds to perform your actions, it's not 100% turn-based. It's real-time with post-combat. Diablo 2, what could I tell you about this game? This has the Plague Y mod, which allows you to play. I can play the game with unlocked resolution and unlocked frame rates with a decent aspect ratio. Both this one and this one. This one is the Beelzebub mod, and this one is the Plague Y mod. With those mods, you are good to go. Unlock resolutions, more content, different difficulties, extra characters. You have everything you need. I see that, and they don't alter the vanilla experience that much. It's the vanilla experience with enhancements. That's the point. Nox, this one is the case. The artwork, of course, is also modified, as I've said. But this one is a disaster. This one is from Electronic Arts. It's a great game. It's similar to Diablo. But I couldn't fix the resolution. It's impossible to execute the same with a modern HD resolution. Forget about it. You will have to play. I have to play it at the original resolutions. Yes, pretty much. There are mods. I don't know if there's been any recent mod, but that I know of, it's impossible to execute this game at HD resolutions. No, it's literally impossible. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. This one was released recently. This was a happy surprise, an unexpected surprise. This one is best played with a controller, because this one was originally released during the 6th generation, back in 2001. This one is from 2001 on PS2 and Xbox, and then just recently it was released on PC. I haven't tried this one. This is a pending debut. It's a great game because I never played it on PS2 or Xbox. But nowadays we can play it modernly. That was a pretty good surprise. Fate 1: The Traitor's Soul. Well, the Fate series. The Fate series is the precursor of the Torchlight series. Yes, these games were published under the seal of Wild Tangent Games. I think it's European. They're pretty much the precursor of Torchlight. You have your dog, your pet, and it's pretty much clearing dungeons. The first Fate, and I want to explain this because it's very confusing, the labeling system they used, how they named these games. How they decided to call these games. Fate 1 contains the original game, the first expansion, which I cannot remember the name, and the second expansion, which is Traitor's Soul. So, you have to get Fate 1 with the expansion up to Traitor's Soul, right? Because it will contain the base game, the first expansion, and Traitor's Soul. Alright? But they are just Fate 1. It's like Diablo 1, eh? Don't think it's like Diablo 2, kind of like you traveling the world. No. It's just a dungeon with a lot of levels. I also made this custom artwork. I didn't make it, but I edited the official artwork. In order to add those edges right there. Pretty good game, but it's just like Diablo 1. There's pretty much no story, nothing like that, just clearing dungeons. The one which is like Diablo 2, we could say, it's Fate 2, and of course the Torchlight series. Fate 2, The Cursed King, if I'm not mistaken, this one is like Diablo 2. It's not just a dungeon in which you have to clear different levels. It expands upon everything. You can play these games at unlocked resolutions without mods, I believe. Not the original executable for Fate, but yes, the Traitor's Soul expansion, it allows you to play at unlocked resolutions. And unlocked frame rates, I believe, as well. Okay. Torchlight. After finishing Fate 2 and Fate and the original Fate, the first expansion and the second expansion, which is Traitor's Soul, we have Fate 2 and Torchlight. Torchlight, it's just like Fable 1. I don't know, I truly don't know about this one, if this one is like Diablo 1 or Diablo 2. I would need that one, I cannot remember, I need to be honest. But well, I think that if Torchlight 1, I deduce, if Torchlight 1 is just dungeons, maybe this one is just dungeons as well. And it's not like Diablo 2, but well. Torchlight 2, use the Synergies mod. And I think Torchlight 1 is also modded, but I cannot remember. No, the respec. I think I just modded the respec system because otherwise you cannot respec like in modern action RPG games. But this one, yes, this one has the Synergies mod. Install the Synergies mod, even if it's your first time playing. A lot of people say, no, first experience the vanilla game. No, experience the full-fledged power of the Synergies mod. All it has to offer, it's great. Torchlight 3. After developing Torchlight 2, they went on to do the MMORPG for Torchlight Frontiers, but recently, this is modern history of the gaming industry. They fortunately fortunately realized that they had to release Torchlight 3 for all of us. Great game. I don't care if people bash on this game and its troubled development. I think in the end, they did the right choice. They made the right choice. They made the right choice, and they released Torchlight 3. Titan Quest. All of these games, both Torchlight, all of the Torchlight games, especially Torchlight 2 with the Synergies mod, and Titan Quest. Also, I want to highlight that Torchlight 1 has endgame content, if I'm not mistaken, after you beat the huge guy that I always call Manoroth, because it's just like the villain in Warcraft 3 for the orcs, the one which enslaved the orcs, kind of like with 4 legs, and he's kind of like a centaur. Pretty tough, this game. You have to play Torchlight, but especially Torchlight 2 with the Synergies mod, as well as Titan Quest. I finished Titan Quest. No, not all of its expansions. I finished Immortal Throne, in which you battle Hades. And yes, I finished the original Titan Quest. All of them on the hardest difficulty. All of the games you see me that I'm saying I played, they were on the hardest difficulty. Titan Quest and the Immortal Throne expansion, the originals, released back in 2006. And I have to play the modern ones, the Fate of Atlantis, I think it is, Quest of Atlantis, the Ragnarok, a lot of modern examples. In the past 2 or 3 years, THQ, since it revived from its ashes, it has been able to revive Titan Quest accordingly. It's incredible how this game has evolved throughout the years. It was recently revived and it has a lot of new expansions. Highly recommended Titan Quest. If you like the isometric action RPG genre, you must play Diablo 1, because most people ignore Diablo 1, and with the Belzebub mod, or the Belzehub or something like that. It's great, it's absolutely playable, don't listen to ignorance. Diablo 2, the original one with the Plague Y mod, I suggest that over the version Blizzard recently released, which is Diablo 2 Resurrection or something like that, because the Plague Y mod adds a lot of interesting gameplay mechanics. Besides, you can watch the cinematics perfectly in this version. You can play at unlocked resolutions. Yeah. Torchlight 2 with the Synergies mod, and Titan Quest. They are absolutely mandatory. Grim Dawn. It was developed by the original team behind Titan Quest. It was developed by the original team. It wasn't published under the seal of THQ. No, this one is from the original team. I think this one, they renamed themselves to Create Entertainment, and they recently released Grim Dawn. You have the Crucible mode. You can endlessly fight hordes and hordes of monsters one after another. If you're looking for a modern isometric action RPG game, I would point you, just in case you don't like the graphics, you tell me, Eraser, I cannot stand the 2D graphics of Diablo. I know I shouldn't be doing that, but it's the way it is. What are you gonna do? I cannot stand 2D graphics or whatever. I would suggest that if you want a modern example, and if you also don't tolerate, for whatever reason, Titan Quest, go for Grim Dawn. But first of all, I would suggest those three. Torchlight 2, but exclusively on PC with the synergies mod, Diablo 2, of course, Diablo 1, and Titan Quest first. Grim Dawn, it's an excellent game. Loki Heroes of Mythology. Well, we are back. We're going back to 2007. Because Grim Dawn was a modern example, but since it was released by the same team behind Titan Quest, though it wasn't published by THQ, we go back to 2007 and we have Loki Heroes of Mythology. Loki Heroes of Mythology, it's very shallow. It doesn't have complex mechanics. It doesn't. I don't recommend you play this one unless you are an absolute fan of the isometric action RPG genre. If you're a fan of the genre, well, go ahead, feel free to try it. But don't expect a lot of quality. Contrary to this one, which I recently streamed, and it's Havencast Rise of the Mage. I awarded this game my second ever perfect qualification during my analysis. You have the full gameplay. I played this game on the highest difficulty. It's not a point and click system. This is similar to an MMORPG regarding the camera and the gameplay mechanics. Don't think it's the same as Diablo because it has a unique combat system, a lot of innovation. It has a lot of innovation, this game, within it, because it's a mix between the isometric action RPG genre and the MMORPG genre. Kind of like the tab targeting system. It doesn't use tab targeting, but it also doesn't use point and click. You check out my streams if you want a comprehensive idea of how this game is, but it's a perfect game. I awarded it the highest qualification. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I thoroughly enjoyed Havencast Rise of the Mage. Absolutely incredible. Go play this game right now. It's not exactly like Diablo. It has 3 camera modes, in which I suggest you use the expert mode because it's much more similar to an MMORPG game. The other ones are flawed, I think, the first 2 camera systems. But well, excellent game. And install patch 1.04. Always remember that, otherwise the game will be broken. You don't have to mod it. It supports HD resolutions. The same for Loki and all of the other ones, except for Nox. But while it supports unlocked, it natively supports unlocked resolutions, go for the expert camera mode and update this game to 1.04, to the 1.04 version. That's mandatory. Otherwise it will be broken. Space Siege. This is the modern incarnation of Dungeon Siege. It's made by the same developer, by Gas Powered Games. Chris Taylor, you are the best. He is the best. And this game is pretty good, pretty short. It's extremely short. It's not like Dungeon Siege 1 and 2. It doesn't have that quality. But if you are looking for Dungeon Siege turned into Diablo, it's this game. Remember that in the original Dungeon Siege you had a group of adventurers, and it mixes isometric action RPG mechanics with classic RPG mechanics. It's pretty borderline. It blurs the difference between the classic RPG genre and the isometric action RPG genre. But Space Siege is a different case to Dungeon Siege. This one is 100% pure isometric action RPG. Short, extremely short, and I don't suggest you try this because it has a lot of technical issues. The mouse disappears. I had to use borderless gaming once again for this one. And even so, I think I had to install a specific, no, that's the next one, but I think I had to install some specific programs for it to run. I don't know if the NVIDIA Fix program, the physics engine. And this one, yes, this one, if you don't install the physics engine, this one is exclusive to PC. A lot of these games are exclusive to PC. Sacred 2. I need some breath. Wait. I need to recover my breath. Sacred 2. This one requires you to install a specific version of the physics, of the fix engine, of the NVIDIA physics engine. If you have an AMD card, you can risk it, but I think it won't work. It exclusively works on PC with NVIDIA cards and with a specific version. You need to have a specific version of the NVIDIA physics engine. Of the fix engine. Kind of like PYHX, I think it was spelled like that. And yes, I have the version for this game. Yes, in case you're wondering. I installed the specific version for this game. I used that specific version. And then we have Sacred 3, which has nothing to do with the second one. You can play Sacred 2 and Sacred 3 on consoles. Otherwise, if you don't want to mess with a lot of settings, they are pretty... Space Siege and Sacred 2, they may give you a lot of issues. They are great games. This one is a bit short, but well, they are plagued with technical issues. They are absolutely plagued with technical issues. Especially Sacred 2. Sacred 3 it was bashed a lot, it's true, it doesn't have the quality of Sacred 1. You can also play it on consoles with a joystick, this one. In fact, I do suggest you play this one with a joystick, even if you're playing on PC, because it's pretty much the same case as Dungeon Siege 3, which we are going to get to right now. But yes, pretty much Isometric Action RPG with a joystick, yes. I suggest you play this game with a joystick. It's the same case as Dungeon Siege 3. This one, no. This one, it was born as a PC game, let's say. This one was born as a console game. Deathspank 1, 2, and 3. Good games, also playable with a controller. This was kind of like an obscure period of time for the Isometric Action RPG genre. We are talking about 2007, a bit more, 2008, 2009, 2010, all the way up to 2013, more or less. It was a period of time in which the Isometric Action RPG genre was trying to be revived through consoles rather than PC. I haven't played these 3. I have tried Sacred 2 a bit. I've finished these 2. I've finished Titan Quest. I've finished Torchlight 1. Torchlight 2 is incredibly huge with the synergy mod. I finished Diablo 1 and 2 several times, of course. More or less. Dungeon Siege. I finished this game, but on the PS3 long ago. I need to replay this one. It has the Treasures of the Sun DLC. Be careful because you cannot access the DLC after you finish a certain part of the game. This game, I need to play this game because I want to defend this game, because this game, I finished it. It's hard. It's true. It's a console game. It was born as a console game. It's playable. You have to play this game with a controller. This game, it's a 10 out of 10. This game is great. Don't let anyone tell you this game is not as good as the original 2 Dungeon Siege games. They are different, but they are all great games. This one was developed by Obsidian, and this game is the reason why Obsidian should have the license, also because of Pillars of Eternity, of Baldur's Gate and not Larian Studios, because Dungeon Siege 3 is one of the best isometric action RPG games I've ever played with a controller. With a controller, it's certainly the best. Ignore the fact that the game is playable, it has to be played with a controller. This game is pure quality. If you are not playing this, if you haven't played this game, you are missing a lot. This game is great. Right now, go ahead, play it, and the same for Ravencast Rise of the Mage. I know they are forgotten, both of them. This one was released in 2011, if I'm not mistaken, and also the expansion 2012. But please, play Dungeon Siege 3. It's a great game. Grid Black Border, absolutely forgotten. This one is similar to Space Siege in this case. Developed by a totally different company. I haven't played it a lot. It's absolutely forgotten, but I remember it was a great isometric action RPG from 2012. It doesn't have nice graphics when compared to Dungeon Siege 3. It was a smaller studio, but it was a great game. It wasn't as good. I suggest you, please, whatever you do, play Dungeon Siege 3, and then if you want to bash that game, do so, but first, play this game, because this game is incredible. Crater Shadows over Soulside. This one also has kind of like, let's say, a lot of quality. It's not perfect, it has a lot of issues. It doesn't have the complexity or the length of Dungeon Siege 3 or the other games I've been commenting. These are all mostly AAA. They were AAA by the time they were released, not now. This one, Crater, and Grid Black Border will be AA. And then we have Blood Knights. I don't suggest you try this one. You can go ahead and do so. It's not the most perfect example of isometric action RPG. It's not a bad game. It's not bad, otherwise I wouldn't have it here. But it doesn't have the quality of Crater, and it doesn't have the quality of Grid. And well, none of them have the quality of Dungeon Siege 3. 2015, Realms of Ancient War, another forgotten game, pretty good. Highly suggest you, well, not highly, but I suggest that if you have some spare time, and if you've already tried, if you already tried the classics, and let's say the AA ones, go ahead and give Blood Knights, Realms of Ancient War a try. Crater Shadows over Soulside and Grid Black Border, I suggest you try them 100%. You don't need mods to run any of these games. They are fairly modern. You don't need mods to run them at unlocked resolutions, so you're good to go. Forced Showdown. Highly suggest you try these two. These two are exclusive to PC. Well, the other ones are also exclusive to PC. But you have to try Forced Showdown. These ones are not isometric action RPG games. They are not pure isometric action RPG games. They are similar to a MOBA mixed with Diablo. It's difficult to explain. You fight in arenas. They are great. Forced Showdown, it's the sequel. They have gorgeous graphics, cartoony but gorgeous graphics, at least to my eye. I don't know if people nowadays hate cartoony graphics. If you hate cartoony graphics, don't play them, you won't like them. They are like MOBAs mixed with arenas, mixed with Diablo. It's difficult to explain, but they are great games. They have smooth gameplay mechanics, and I love those two little games. I love those arenas. But besides, especially, I played a lot of Heroes of the Storm. Well, if you liked, and if you played Heroes of the Storm, well, for example, or if you played Diablo 3, I played Diablo 3 on the Xbox 360 because I didn't want the permanent internet connection. I played the Ultimate Evil Edition a lot of times, over and over again. But if you liked Diablo 3, this one may be for you. It's the arena mode, but this one is for you. If you liked Heroes of the Storm and Diablo 3, this one is pretty similar. You fight in arenas, you progress, and it has a lot of interesting mechanics. Forced Showdown, it's of course better than Forced. If, as I've said with Arclash, Legacy, and Confrontation. If you liked Forced Showdown, consider getting Forced the original. They were clearly developed with a lot of passion. Highly suggest them. Victor Brand, absolutely fantastic isometric action RPG. This is modern. We are more or less in the year 2015 here. Try this game. It's AAA, AA quality, let's say. It has a bigger budget than the previous ones, except for Dungeon Siege 3, of course. Try it. You won't regret it. This one is kind of like mandatory. This one and this one, The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing Final Cut. The trilogy, developed by Neocore. This one was developed by Haymont Games. I believe it's pronounced like that. These two, play them. Play them. Right now. Especially if you want a modern, and even more modern, isometric action RPG than Grim Dawn. But yeah, you should try Grim Dawn, Dungeon Siege 3. If you can, try Sacred 2, at least on the Xbox 360. It's the only other system in which it's available. But yeah, Sacred 2, Dungeon Siege 3, Grid, Black Border, and Crater only if you played the bigger ones. The same for Realms of Ancient War. I suggest Forced Showdown if you liked either Heroes of the Storm or Diablo 3. It's pretty similar, but with arenas. For example, I remember one of the mechanics here is the same as the energy beam from the mage in Diablo 3, kind of like the beam, which I loved using, in which you constantly target enemies and you kind of like just spin, kind of like just direct the beam to the enemies, and you are constantly pressing the left mouse button. Pretty similar to the mage in Diablo 3 with the energy beam. Forced Showdown. Victor Brand, played right now. The Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing, played right now, the trilogy. But the Final Cut edition doesn't have the never-ending mode. But the original Van Helsing has. Has that mode. Do whatever you want. I have the Final Cut. If you have the Final Cut, I think you could have this is the original one. It only gets to level 20 or something like that. The game wasn't finished, but you could access the never-ending mode. And the Final Cut doesn't have the never-ending mode. And the classes are different. They are more streamlined. So I didn't keep Van Helsing 2, Van Helsing 3, but yes, I kept the original Van Helsing because of the never-ending mode. There it is, the explanation. Pretty straightforward. Well, I streamed this game, played right now. I awarded it the highest qualification. Great isometric action RPG from Games Farm. Remember, the developers of Cult Heretic Kingdoms, or Heretic Kingdoms The Inquisition. Played, remember, watch my stream, especially the first. I suggest do whatever you want, but I highly suggest you watch my first stream of this game because there's a lot of confusion regarding the version differences, because they also released another game which is called Shadows Heretic Kingdoms, and you don't buy that game, that version. Buy the one which says Shadows Awakening. You have the full explanation in my stream. This is an excellent game. Shadows Awakening, not Heretic Kingdoms. Don't buy that one. Buy this one. This is the complete version, and it's a great and extensive game. It's the longest game I've analyzed in my stream. Vikings Wolves of Midgard, AA quality, as I've said, pretty good. Not as good as Shadows Awakening, Incredible Adventures of Van Helsing, and Victor Brand, which are these three are awesome. These three are proof that the isometric action RPG has evolved a lot. Overlord, Fellowship of Evil. This one uses the license. This one used the license for the Overlord franchise, which I have right here, which is kind of like Pikmin, but this one is an isometric action RPG. Good. Keen, haven't tried this one as well. 5 Champions of Canaan, 5 Guardians of David. These are all fairly respectable, let's say, isometric action RPG games. They are not long, complex, or epic. If you want that, go for this one, and this one. Also forced to some extent, and especially Dungeon Siege 3. But this, if you have played the rest of them, go ahead and try Vikings Wolves of Midgard. Vikings Wolves of Midgard was developed by the same company behind Shadows Awakening, if I'm not mistaken. So it should be pretty good. I haven't played it. I finished this one with 100% completion. Every single side quest. Overlord, Fellowship of Evil, Keen, 5 Champions of Canaan, and 5 Guardians of David. I haven't tried them. They don't have the budget of these games, but they are not bad. Let's say they are kind of like 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, even 7 out of 10 in some cases. Pylon Rogue is probably the most indie project out of these last 4 or 5 I've been mentioning. It's still not bad. The gameplay mechanics are hack and slash. Go ahead and destroy everything, kill the demons. Pretty much you get the point. Here you have all recommendations by me. Just in case you have already played the classic AAA and AA games endlessly, well, go ahead and give all of these a try. They all deserve your love. Redeemer, well, I remember the budget for this one is bigger than these ones. The budget for this one is bigger. This one is AA quality, let's say, or at least it has quality, a AA budget. It has a AA budget. Redeemer, I was conflicted. I was about to say, I remember I was conflicted if I should put this one here or somewhere else in my collection, because Redeemer is... It has hack and slash mechanics, but kind of like kung fu mechanics and those things. You fight a lot, but I would still classify this one as an isometric action RPG game. I would still do so. It has AA quality, a budget, and quality. It's a good game, solid, and it's a bit more modern than the other ones that I was showcasing. I would suggest this one over Pylon Rogue, 5 Guardians of David, but if you play the other ones, as I've said, try those. They are not bad. Book of Demons. Book of Demons is still being developed. It's not finished, so I don't suggest you try it right now. It isn't finished, but it's a great game. It's a great game. It has some questionable graphics because they are kind of like 2D, but modern 2D, and everything. It's like a paper. It could be similar to Dungeons and Dragons, but it's isometric action RPG. It's not turn-based. Don't worry. Well, these ones I haven't tried them. Rad, I remember I was hyped for this game. These are all played with a controller for the most part. Redeemer and these ones. I don't know, maybe this... No, not these ones, but Redeemer, yes. That one should be played with a controller because of the Kung Fu mechanics. I don't know. Rad should be played with a controller, if I remember correctly the game. I don't know much about this one, but this one is almost AAA quality. This one was developed by a big company, I believe. I don't want to I don't want to just tell you that it's AAA, but this one is not an indie game. It's between AA and AAA, and there were some big publishers behind this one. Children of Morta, this one is indie, but don't underestimate it. It's pretty good. Pixel art, and yes, pretty much the classic isometric action RPG mechanics once again. Just remember that it's 2D. It's 2D and it's pixel art. Similar to, well, Minecraft Dungeons is 3D. I don't know, similar. It's pixelated. Here we have the last modern wave of isometric action RPG games. The last great modern wave we've had, Warhammer Chaos Bane. Highly recommended. Ignore the idiots who are saying these games are bad. Walls and Lords of Mayhem. Great game. Incredible graphics, out of this planet. I played the first levels for both of these games, and they are absolutely majestic. Don't believe people who say Warhammer Chaos Bane and Walls and Lords of Mayhem that they are not good games just because the online or the end game mechanics are not perfectly refined for the online part, or the drops or whatever they want to invent. These two games are excellent. Excellent. Wolsen is developed with the Cry engine. It's a AA game. Granted, it's not AAA, let's say, but the graphics are awesome and the gameplay mechanics are properly executed. I'm tired of listening to people say that Warhammer Chaos Bane and Walls and Lords of Mayhem are not good games. They are excellent games, not just good. And I highly encourage you to try both of those. If you want the most modern isometric action RPG experience, as well as Minecraft Dungeons. This one isn't as hardcore as the other ones. Here we have Hades. This game was absolutely it's absolutely famous. It was a contestant to the Game of the Year prize, and it has, well, this one has some roguelike elements, I believe. I haven't tried it, but yeah, it's a great game. It's an absolutely great game. I've seen the gameplays. I played the game a bit, so it's a great game. But I highly suggest you try Wolsen and Warhammer Chaos Bane. Hades is a great game. It's 2D, but this one is absolutely priced. This one it's absolutely famous. It's absolutely famous, and this one doesn't need any kind of recognition from me, because anyone will tell you this is a great game. But it's ironic. I find it ironic that people mention Hades and not these two. This one has roguelike mechanics, but well. Retro Machina, if you like this one, you'll probably like this one. If you like Bastion, you'll probably like Retro Machina, I didn't like Bastion. Another unpopular opinion. It needed more combat. I don't know if it uses stamina bars, but whatever, I didn't like it. But I do like Retro Machina. Darksburg, haven't tried it, but it's the same story. Curse of the Dead Gods, as well, they're pretty modern. And Death's Door, this could be similar to Zelda. To some extent, these are all modern. They're still way too recent for me to comment on. Alright, we'll get to one of the most incredible feats, if not the greatest feat I've achieved. Regarding my collection of games. Since I will personally explain this, since I don't trust big companies that they will keep the servers for MMORPG games forever, since I don't trust them, I've decided to play a reverse engineered version of them. Because I simply cannot trust them after they closed WillStar, after they closed especially NCSoft. Besides, not only that they closed them, they have they update the original gameplay for these MMORPG games so much that they turn these games into different games. That's my perspective. They turned World of Warcraft into a totally different game. They turned Star Wars The Old Republic, my favorite game of all time, alongside Knights of the Old Republic 2, into a totally different game. When they removed skill trees, they also removed skill trees back in World of Warcraft. And since they have decided to prostitute and change the core gameplay mechanics for most of these MMORPG games, and I cannot have the original experience, yes, you will tell me, but they have original servers. Yeah, right, yeah, right now I'm going to go to Blizzard's server and have permanent connection to the internet from a third world country just to play the Lich King version of Warcraft 3. Not gonna happen. Thank you. So, all of these servers, all of these MMORPGs that you are going to look at right now, I won't go over them. They are pretty obvious. They are great. Pretty much World of Warcraft is the king of the MMORPG genre. It has always been. It will always be. Sorry to burst your bubble if you think Final Fantasy XIV is going to change anything. It's not my favorite. My favorite game of all time is Star Wars The Old Republic, alongside Knights of the Old Republic 2. So it's not a personal attachment, but World of Warcraft, I play here alone, on my own, killing beasts and exploring this sacred ground of gaming history. That's what I most enjoy out of it. I'm just there, I use some soundtracks, and I farm, I kill my thingies. There, I'm the guild master. Of course, it's absolutely offline. I'm alone, and I enjoy the journey of experiencing one of the most historic and legendary game worlds of all time. That's the idea, more than the gameplay mechanics, but I do enjoy them. I like using skill trees instead of the degeneration they turned Warcraft into afterwards. This is the Lich King expansion, 100% offline. The server is executed locally on my PC. It's the Lich King expansion. Lineage 2, the same, classic MMORPG game. This one is more updated because the original gameplay mechanics for this one were a bit clunky. They were a bit clunky, so I had to get an updated version. The same, 100% offline. I play on my own, killing creatures. That's it. Enjoying the gameplay. Ion the Tower of Eternity. Same story. This one probably has the best combat system I've ever seen in any MMORPG, except for Star Wars The Old Republic. Of course, that game is the best game of all time. Remember, always. Because I have several reasons to say that. But yes, Star Wars The Old Republic is the best. The best MMORPG, the best RPG game, the best everything. The best open world game, the best. But if Star Wars The Old Republic wouldn't exist, and WillStar wouldn't have closed, because WillStar, they are working on something for WillStar, but it's not available yet. Ion the Tower of Eternity is certainly up there with the top MMORPG games that you should totally play. I suggest you play them like this, offline, on your own. These games are more to explore, for me personally. For me, this is what I enjoy. Maybe you don't like it, and it's completely respectable. But what I love about having all of these offline MMORPG games right at my fingertips is that I am no longer, first of all, I'm no longer afraid of updates that are going to nerf my character, that the gameplay mechanics are gonna change, that for example, that the servers are going to close. No, nothing at all. It's frozen in time, empty for me to enjoy on my own, alone, without anyone bothering me, and that's my personal pleasure. It's a personal pleasure I have, and it's great. They all of these, through different methods, work locally on my PC. I don't need internet to use them. Besides, I live in a third world country, so I don't know when the internet is going to stop working. So there you have it. There you have the answer. I want to have all of them ready. I want to play them even if I don't have internet. It's true that nowadays it's not that bad, but for example, I don't have fiber. The Exiled Realm of Arborea, Terra. This one has the best action combat system in any MMORPG, probably. Pretty good, made by Ubisoft. I like the visuals a lot. Also locally executed on my PC. 100% offline. Those are my biggest achievements, I must say, regarding this collection, because I can play whenever I want, even if I have no internet. Perfect. It took me a lot of effort, but I did it. And last but not least, the most modern example is Black Desert Online. I also played on my own, offline, farming, enjoying, which I think is the best modern example of an MMORPG game. And I also consider all of these sacred ground of the gaming industry. These worlds. That's why I'm so worried that they are going to shut down the servers. Eventually, they're eventually going to shut down the servers, and we are going to lose all of those majestic and incredible worlds in a matter of seconds. So, just in case, I have preserved those 5 to explore, to thread that sacred ground, to explore those sacred grounds of gaming history. That's the idea. The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, talking about sacred ground. This one is completely modded. I recently had to reinstall the game and mod the game again, because the MSGO mod, which was what we used originally back in the day, back in 2008, back in 2010, to mod this game, years later the community discovered that mod breaks your game, so I highly suggest you pay attention to that. Some people defend the mod, but the truth of the matter is that I personally have troubles with MSGO because it's kind of like easy to mod like that. Using that, it's kind of like an interface, and with that mod you can pretty much do everything. But don't use MSGO because I've read what the community had to say, and while a lot of people still use it, I personally, fortunately, I didn't lose any save file, but the game wouldn't start. It wouldn't start. You have to learn to manually mod Morrowind. I manually modded Morrowind for a second time this year. No, well, last year, 2021. And I'm pretty pleased with the result. I wish I could showcase it for all of you, but we don't have time. It's already been 2 hours and we have plenty of things to cover. Besides, my explanations are getting a bit long. But yes, learn to mod this game properly, and you will enjoy an absolute jewel. This is sacred ground as well. Sacred ground of the gaming industry. Probably the best world ever created in any RPG game. And I highly suggest you play this one. This is the original Morrowind. I modded the game completely. You wouldn't think it's the original game, even though it retains some of the vanilla essence, but it's a great game. Absolutely legendary. And besides, I forgot. Besides the graphic mods, remember to install the Tamriel rebuild mod, because that one will expand. There's a team working since they've been working for 20 years right now, I don't know, and they're still working on it. They're trying to recreate the original portion of land, because the Morrowind, the original idea was to create a much bigger game, much more similar to World of Warcraft, but they of course ran out of resources. They had to release the game, but the talented team at Tamriel Rebuilt, they are recreating the original portion of the land. So props to them, they are the best. You guys are the best. This one has the last updated build from a month ago, so it has everything we need, everything I need, and it has updated graphics, unlocked frame rates, unlocked resolution. It's an absolute beast. So go ahead, learn to mod Morrowind, and you will never regret it. But learn how to mod it properly. It's a very, well, not complex process, but you need to pay attention. You need to pay attention. The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Boy, I don't know how I'm gonna make it to the end. The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, also modded, in this case only with graphic mods. I haven't touched the content. It's just graphic mods, and it's absolutely beautiful, especially the fire, the faces. It's all revamped. I think that for this one and Skyrim, they locked the frame rate to 60. Yes, it's hard coded at 60. Otherwise, the physics engine goes crazy. But yes, don't think the version I play of the Elder Scrolls 4. I think this one has 90 mods, and this one has 130 or something like that. Absolutely different games in terms of graphical quality. Great games. What could I tell you about them? I did, in the case of Skyrim, the same. Gorgeous with all of the mods I've installed. No, don't think it's anything out of this world, but it looks quite good, quite good. And just one thing, the in the case of Morrowind, in the case of Skyrim, I installed a very unpopular mod, which is kind of like the damage numbers on top of the enemies when you attack them, similar to an MMORPG. I know most people hate that because it's not realistic, but I love looking at damage numbers. I must admit it. I cannot resist it. Damage numbers, floating damage numbers they should be in every game. I'm addicted to those. I don't know why. When I see a floating damage number, I say, this game is great. I try to be objective, but it's a personal it's something personal. I don't know why. It's a personal feature I have, let's say. A personal feature of my analysis. So yes, and in this one I've inverted the running with the walking, because if I press, for example, W, it just walks the character, because I think the running mechanics for Oblivion, they are pretty strange and you can play it walking. But yeah, these three are absolutely modded. The most modded out of all of them it's a Skyrim, but the one I have in my heart it's Morrowind. This game fully modded with the Tamriel rebuild mod. This game it's out of this world. So one day I have to showcase this now that I've modded the game once again. I updated the mods. I have updated the mods. Jedi Knight 2, the Jedi Outcast. I couldn't play the first one because I cannot stand the graphics. I'll be honest with all of you. This one, and of course Jedi Knight 3, the Jedi Academy, they are both modded. The executables are modded, so they play at unlocked resolutions. I think these two have unlocked frame rates. They have a short draw distance, but that's because of the game. And they probably have people say these two have the most. I've finished both of them several times. The same for Skyrim and Oblivion, not Morrowind, because I was waiting to properly mod that game. Because the previous mod had kind of like floating grass. I could speak all night about Morrowind mods. I'm not an expert, but I've learned to love the Morrowind modding scene. As I've said, Jedi Academy and Jedi Outcast, I played both of them a lot of time. I played through both of them, but never at unlocked resolutions. No. I need to replay them once more with unlocked resolutions and corrected FOV, corrected field of view, and these ones are ready to be played. Unlocked resolutions, Google the mods, and we get to my favorite games of all time. Out of all of these games, this one is my favorite. These are my favorite games of all time. These games are the best ever created due to the complexity of the combat system, due to the perfect lore. Drew Cars Fishing, sorry if I butcher your name, Drew, you are my hero, know that. He wrote the story for the first one, and I'm not sure about the second one, but what I most love about this game is the philosophical approach this game has. It's an extremely look at the irony. This game is the very definition of a deconstruction of the Star Wars universe. It's a relativist game, in fact. because of the character of Kreia. But the thing is that while Kreia is the main character, you are showed how relativism could lead you to terrible mistakes, to extremely terrible mistakes, because in the end Kreia made a lot of mistakes, and she, the happy part of the story is that she is determined to attune for her sins. That's the interesting idea. And well, Knights of the Old Republic 1, well, it's Revan, best character of all time, Revan, out of all time, out of all series. Sorry, this is my personal preference. Perfectly executed these two games. They are both modded to be played at 1080p. At unlocked resolutions. And of course, they both have the community patches, because it's for both of them. Each one of them has its respective community patch, which in the case of Knights of the Old Republic 2, it adds a lot of content. Not only it fixes all of the bugs, because Knights of the Old Republic 2 was an unfinished game. And yes, install the community patch, install the graphic mods, everything. Mod both of these games because they are worth it. I know that Disney is about to prostitute my favorite game of all time, my favorite games of all time, these two, alongside Star Wars The Old Republic. I don't have Star Wars The Old Republic installed because I'm waiting to reverse engineer the server, and I will add it right here, right alongside World of Warcraft, or probably it will be here, or here, maybe here. No, but it's MMORPG, so it would be here. It will be here or here, as alongside my right next to my first game of all time. Jade Empire. Sorry, to wrap it up regarding Knights of the Old Republic 2, the interesting thing is that philosophical approach in which, while you are shown how relativist Kreia is, the game constantly tells you, or at least makes you deduce, that relativism isn't always right. It isn't always right. I think the relativists are never right about a single thing, because there are a lot of intrinsic fallacies regarding their base logic. But well, the game is not 100% relativist. It has relativist characters and realist characters, and it's interesting how Kreia in the end recognizes that she made a lot of mistakes while being a relativist individual. Kreia is the perfect example of a relativist individual. That's the thing. She says, Jedi, Sith, those are just titles. She's constantly trying to undermine the true meaning of good and evil. Good and evil exist, and they're defined by our actions. That's my philosophical approach. And things have an external nature to our own thoughts. It's not simply a matter of opinion. This is a mouse, not a chair. Even if I say tomorrow that, even if a tyrant ruler says this is a chair, no, it's not. That's the case. That's what I love about that game. Besides the incredible gameplay system, and the community patch is awesome, and the graphical upgrade I've applied to it, it's incredible. Jade Empire, same story. This one doesn't have any community patch that I know of, but it's a great game. If you liked Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, you'll probably like this one. The combat system is a bit different. And now we get to the tragedy, not the trilogy. This will be the tragedy of Mass Effect, because the first Mass Effect, let me tell you this, because a lot of people think it has an outdated combat system. No, the combat system for the first Mass Effect is perfect, because it perfectly mimics that of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, but with action combat, with action-oriented combat. But it's perfect. I love the combat system in the first Mass Effect, and sadly for the trilogy, they changed it. They changed the combat. So I've decided to kept a copy of the original Mass Effect. I finished this game. 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 I finished this one. I finished. I mostly finished World of Warcraft, and I these ones are mostly for exploration and recreation. I love fighting mobs over there in those MMORPG worlds. Well, Mass Effect 2, I didn't like it as much as I liked the first one. Mass Effect 3, it's a disaster compared to the first one and the second one. Absolutely enjoyable. It's not a bad game. By all means, go ahead, grab these games. They are pretty famous, so I'm not going to mention them. But remember, the first Mass Effect with the original combat system and the original graphics, it's much better than the trilogy they released recently. Sorry. Mass Effect Andromeda, good game. I haven't played it. Dragon Age Origins, I finished this game with every single side quest completed, with every single possible quest and creature killed. Highly suggest this one. This game has a perfect combat system, 10 out of 10. It would be among my top 10 best games of all time. Then they drastically changed it in Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition, which I haven't played those two, but I saw the gameplays and I'm going to try them. I have been delaying the playthrough of Dragon Age 2, but I know it has nothing to do with Origins. The final boss here for the final expansion, the Harvester, is absolutely crazy. I was almost unable to beat that on the highest difficulty. The Harvester, brutal. This game is perfect. This game is perfect. You also need to ensure your companions, the rest of the characters don't die during the final fight. There's a lot of things going on. This game is awesome. It's fully updated. It's great. It's great. Try this one. Try Dragon Age Origins if you haven't tried it. I played the first The Witcher. I played it. Yes, I played it. Not all the way up until the end, but until you get into the city. Then I had a terrible exam that week. I remember back at law school, and well, I couldn't finish it. I still have the save. It's the enhanced edition. It has all of the features. The same for this. What could I tell you about the Game of the Year 2015? Even though the Game Awards are filled with illiterate ignorance, but The Witcher 3, it's undoubtedly a great game. This one is modded. This copy is modded to enhance the graphics even further, and I can assure you, this one looks much better than the console counterparts and the PC, and even in the PC counterpart. The first Fable, I finished this game. Go ahead and play this game right now. The combat system and the overall mechanics may be a bit shallow. I've finished Fable 2 as well, with all of the DLCs. On the Xbox 360, I finished Fable Anniversary with its expansion. I think it has an expansion or something like that. It's the Anniversary Edition, so get the anniversary edition, I need to play Fable 3. I've heard it's not as good as the first two, but I think they are wrong. Well, I finished this game several times on the PS3 long ago. Kingdoms of Amalur, Reckoning. My god, this is the re-recording edition actually, but I kept the original artwork. That game is a 10 out of 10. Go ahead, play it instantly. This game is the best. It has a great soundtrack, it has a great storyline. It has only one critical flaw. It has but one critical flaw, and it was the fact that this game is pathetically easy, even on the hardest difficulty. You can spam potions just like in Skyrim, but it's even worse. But definitely, if we could have a mod to crank up the difficulty, and I think the re-recording edition had one extra layer, one extra level of difficulty, the very hard or something like that. I just hope the re-recording edition fixed those issues. Yeah, pretty much. This game is awesome, but extremely easy. It's similar to an MMORPG regarding the graphics, but not regarding the combat. Regarding the combat, it's similar to God of War with RPG elements. Alpha Protocol, also released by Obsidian. This game is incredible. Don't think it's bad. It's not perfect, that's for sure, but this is a great game. You have to try it. It's a very unique blend between third-person shooter and RPG mechanics. This game is awesome. Try it right now, but not before you try Reckoning and Dragon Age Origins. And well, also Mass Effect, and these ones, you should play them all. But the one you should definitely try as well is Dragon's Dogma. Dragon's Dogma, I played this game all the way till the end, DLC included. God damn it. You have to try this game. Dragon's Dogma, if you haven't tried this game already, this one combines Monster Hunter mechanics, but this is a very Western oriented game, even though it's developed by Capcom and it has Japanese art style, but the gameplay mechanics are much more similar to a Western action game with your pawns and the dragon, and the story is epic. It has a lot of great ideas. The expansion, it's great. The Dark Horizon expansion, this game definitely deserves a sequel. This game deserves Game of the Year multiplied by 1,000 times. This game is great. Dragon's Dogma is incredible. It has a lot of content. It's hard. It doesn't have stamina bars, those pesky stamina bars. If you haven't realized by now, it uses a lot of interesting mechanics because it plays a lot with the light of the caverns, or the lack of light in the caverns, a lot of that. You can also install, regarding that, in Skyrim, you can install mods. Which make caverns darker, and thus they will prevent you from being able to see in the dark in those caverns without a torch. Highly suggest you install those mods. But yes, play Dragon's Dogma, play the expansion. It can get a bit frightening at times, but if you play Dark Souls games, or I don't know, any other, if you play the Dragon Age Origins and you faced the Harvester, you are ready for anything, boy. You are ready for anything. Dragon's Dogma, excellent game. Go ahead and try it right now. Developed by Capcom. It doesn't have stamina bars, I hate them. And that's why I love this game. It's very hack and slash, the classes are original. You need to think, you need to strategically use your pawns and your abilities. It has a lot of conundrums. It has a lot of things to think about. That's why I love that game so much, because in that regard it's similar to Knights of the Old Republic 2. Go ahead and try Dragon's Dogma. Finish this one. I finished Borderlands, but doing every single mission. Yes, you've heard it right. I did every single mission in the enhanced edition for Borderlands. The same for Dragon's Dogma and the same for Kingdoms of Amalur. When I finish a game, I finish it 100%. Every single side quest and every single creature killed. All of the map explored, everything. Dragon's Dogma and Borderlands. 100% completion. On the hardest difficulty, of course, out of the question. What could I tell you about Borderlands? They are extremely famous. First-person shooter combined with RPG elements, the formula for success. I haven't played Borderlands 2, a sacrilege, I need to do so, but I will need to, since I know myself and I would finish every single side quest. It would probably take me a lot of time to finish Borderlands 2. The pre-sequel and Borderlands 3. I have them all ready to be played eventually. Hellgate London. This one was originally an MMORPG. Pretty forgotten. Difficult to find right now. I wouldn't suggest you play it. Unless you like, just like Dragon Age Origins, except you like, it's not like Dragon Age Origins because this one is unique. This one has classic RPG elements. This one has classic RPG elements from the classic RPG genre and, well, everything. And MMORPG gameplay elements from MMORPG games. So it's not like that one, but if you like MMORPG, kind of like quests and mechanics, you could play Hellgate London. Yes, it's similar to an MMORPG game, so go ahead and try it, but I wouldn't suggest it as your... It's not like your standard RPG game at all. Not at all. Dungeons and Dragons Daggerdale. Also, not that... This one isn't that good. This one is not that good, but it has the official Dungeons and Dragons license, so I gave it a try. Not bad. None of these use the stamina bar. I don't like Dark Souls games. Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3. I think the gameplay system is flawed because of a lot of reasons I've explained countlessly. So you won't find Dark Souls in here. I don't like stamina bars. The only game in which I tolerate that it's a Skyrim, but it's absolutely different. It's not because of the difficulty, because I played games which are even more difficult than Dark Souls, but no. Simply no. I don't like Dark Souls. I did like Sekiro here, and Elden Ring. I'm liking it, but not Dark Souls. No. The moves are orthopedic. Absolutely unbearable. And it doesn't... It praises memorization, not true skill. It praises good gear and memorization, and I don't like that. Lichdom Battle Mage. This one is made by an indie studio with the Cry engine. Pretty much like Bioshock, one would say. It has floating damage numbers. You are a mage. You playing with the first-person camera, just like Borderlands. It doesn't have a complex RPG system. You are a mage, and it's very realistic. I'm going to showcase this game eventually because it's pretty interesting. You kind of like use fire and lightning and all of those things. It's very impressive graphically, but very impressive, trust me. And if you are looking for, I don't like Bioshock. I don't like Bioshock. I don't like Bioshock. I only have the Infinite, Bioshock Infinite, but I cannot stand Bioshock 1 and 2. I don't like them. However, this one is a totally different story because the ambience is different, the area of effect damage is implemented differently. This one has MMORPG mechanics, that's why I like it. It's not like Bioshock in that regard. It has, you can deal area of effect damage. That's the difference. Alright, then we have Bound by Flame. This one also doesn't have any stamina bars. Pretty decent RPG game, pretty modern RPG game. I forgot, this subgenre is kind of like the modern RPG games genre, because I think Morrowind started it all alongside World of Warcraft, but this one is MMORPG. But Morrowind started it all because it stopped with the randomly generated dungeons. Well, the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, we should all thank this game for stopping that tendency of going for randomly generated dungeons and instead having those artisan dungeons in which the developers go ahead and place each character and they design each inch of the terrain specifically for us instead of using random algorithms. That's the thing. Alright, people, we are reaching the end of the RPG column, or the RPG line. The Technomancer, this one is developed by Spiders. I think it's the same as this one, as Bound by Flame, but they greatly improved the gameplay for the Technomancer. This one is from Focus Home Interactive, the French studio behind the Ethereum and Battlefleet Gothic Armada and the Sherlock Holmes games, the modern Sherlock Holmes games. Pretty good. I haven't played it, but I've seen gameplay of this game. I played the first level, I remember. But I remember this game was good. Not excellent. Think that I'm just using my memory, but it greatly improves this one. The same case as I've been mentioning regarding Forced Showdown and Arclash Legacy. If you like the Technomancer, you'll probably like Bound by Flame. That's how I got introduced to the franchise. Immortal Unchained. This one was a surprise here because this one is a Souls-like game. But I think you can kind of like avoid using stamina bars because in this one you use ranged weapons. So since I don't have to use that stupid stamina bar, which I hate so much due to several technical reasons that if you eventually want me to explain them, I can do so, no problem. You'll see that I have my objective and technical reasons why I don't like games with stamina bars. But yes, this one it's an exception because you use the stamina bar not to attack enemies, but to avoid attacks, and then you just use your ranged weaponry to kill the enemies. Kingdom Come Deliverance. Try this game, because especially if you liked Mount and Blade 1 or Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord. In this case I have here Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord. I never played the original. I know a sacrilege, but I simply couldn't stand the clunky mechanics and some things. I think Bannerlord fixed a lot of those, even though it has a lot of bugs. Kingdom Come Deliverance, awesome graphics, pretty much the same idea. I know they are not strictly RPG games, but one could say that they could be interpreted as games with heavy RPG elements, right? They have heavy RPG elements. Remnant from the Ashes, Grateful, they are all modern examples. Great games. The Outer Worlds, Immortals Phoenix Rising, Cyberpunk, Biomutant, Dungeons and Dragons, Dark Alliance, all of those are great games. I highly suggest you try them. They are pretty much proven formulas from different games, so you should definitely try them. In case you, this is kind of like from here onwards, all of these are kind of like the modern incarnations of the original ideas we've seen throughout the years, like this. All right, so we've finished the RPG section for for my showcase. Sadly, I've extended this way too much. It's been 3 hours, and I think I will not be able to showcase the rest of the collection anytime soon, because I've been showcasing all of them, kind of like explaining in detail and in depth a lot of things. So yeah, I will have to, sorry, but I will have to get to the next row next time, which is real-time strategy beginning with Warcraft 3, right? So sorry, but I thought this wouldn't take that much time, but yes, 3 hours, and we just made it through just the RPG section because of all of my comments. Sorry, but I think they are necessary, or at least I thought they were necessary some minutes ago, because yes, they need to be. I wanted this explanation to be in depth regarding the mods I've used, and see that I didn't even open any game, but that's the thing. All of these are Knights of the Old Republic 2 and 1. They can be executed with all of the mods at 1440p and unlocked resolutions. All of these can be played at unlocked resolutions. All of these great games. Biomutant is a great game. Don't listen to ignorance. Cyberpunk is my personal game of the year, even though it had a lot of bugs, but it's a great game. The same for Immortals Phoenix Rising, The Outer Worlds, Grateful, and Remnant from the Ashes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, sorry, but I had to say goodbye. It's been 3 hours. Sorry I couldn't be. Sorry I couldn't kind of like make a shorter version of this, but there are simply way too many games to compress in one single stream. That's the thing. So next time we're going to cover RTS and the next one, which is FPS, real-time strategy, real-time tactics, as well as yeah, pretty much all I have in here, squad-based tactics. Yeah. And eventually we are going to cover all of this. And don't worry, I have the next gem out of all of these ready for analysis to bring for all of you. Remember to stay tuned. Thank you for watching my streams. And as I've said, remember to stay tuned, because I have a lot of forgotten games to showcase for all of you. So if you are looking for underrated, forgotten gems that to expand your knowledge of a specific subgenre, or maybe you didn't know you could reverse engineer MMORPGs, or that you should mod Morrowind, or that there's a community patch for Knights of the Old Republic. Well, all of those details, I thought they were pretty much needed. So it's been great sharing all of this with all of you, and we are going to continue next time. See you soon, have a great night of gaming, and see you all on Thursday. Have a great night. Hope you enjoyed this first part of my showcase. I am enjoying it also because I'm able to record all of this glory just in case one of the hard drives end up failing. I have over 17 terabytes here, so well, I just hope this collection is eternal. Who knows? But I'm pretty proud of it, and I wanted to record it just to have this kind of like this, yeah, this video recorded and this proof of all of my journey throughout the years in the gaming industry, let's say. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been my pleasure. I have no more breath, so see you all on Thursday. We're going to continue with the RTS section. One of my favorites, that's for sure, if not the favorite. If not my favorite. See you all on